Good evening, all. Welcome to the Monday, August 3rd, 2020, regular meeting of the Easton Planning and Zoning Board. In keeping with the ongoing emergency order from Governor Charles Baker to limit gatherings and maximize social distancing, and under legislation passed to address remote board meetings during the emergency declaration, this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards a quorum. The meeting will be available on ECAP. To use Zoom, you will need the link on the agenda or download the Zoom application at www.zoom.us. While conducting meetings remotely, we will endeavor to keep meeting operation as close to our standard procedures as possible. However, use of the platform will necessitate some additional meeting protocol. While the board members and applicants will be on video and audio, public participation will join the webinar as attendee, meaning they are muted with no video feed. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, members of the public can be recognized by using the raise hand function on Zoom or make a request with the Q&A function. If you are joining the meeting by phone, press *9 to raise your hand. The rest of the directions or instructions are summarized on the agenda available on the Easton website, easton.ma.us. So to ensure we have a quorum, we'll do a roll call. Greg Strange here.
Yeah.
Stetson here.
Al Sarek here.
So Greg, it looks like, let's see. Oh, Chris was here.
Yeah.
Did Chris say?
Chris, did you call in?
Anderson here.
Okay. Yeah. So we have a.
Well, we not
What?
Austin, because someone who's calling in, and I asked that as a Moss to raise his hand.
I didn't get any of that. So I don't know. Were you asking me a question or?
Yeah,
Well,
you cut out a bit, Stephanie.
I'm sorry. I don't think we heard that a Moss was going to be at the meeting.
Oh, I hear you.
Someone has called in, and all I ask is if the caller is a Moss, please raise your hand and I can make you a panelist.
Okay. So.
And Frank Altieri has his hand raised. Do you want me to recognize him or?
Well, let's, why don't we first, let's knock off a couple things here. We have to request to continue public hearing for 560 Foundry Street, Sawmill Village. You guys want to make that motion?
Make a motion to continue 565 Washington Street?
560 Foundry Street.
Sorry, 565 Foundry Street until the next meeting.
Did I hear a second?
Yes.
I think I did. All right, Peter. All those in favor? Strange eye.
Very nice.
Anderson, I.
Stetson, aye.
Good.
Okay. So, yeah, I see no more hands raised. And so the number that you were talking about ends in 9121. Amos, if that's you, just raise and we can get you in, but I don't see anything there. So why don't we move on? First thing we have is a minor modification of a site plan for 50 Oliver Street. Number 20-192. Do we have anybody representing that? Do you know?
We have Frank Altieri and I just made him a panelist. Frank?
Mr. Altieri?
Are you muted, Frank?
He's muted, yeah. Oh, no, video is dead. But... No, he's not muted anyways.
All right, sorry about that. When you, Jim's here with me also, so if you
Jim
can,
and Sherry.
and Frank Altieri, we're the owners of Shoveltown Brewery. We submitted the minor site plan modification.
Are you guys really in San Francisco?
Yeah, we're sharing a bungalow.
I use Zoom for work quite a bit, so I just block out the background.
That's right. Well, welcome. So the floor is yours.
As we submitted in our brief, we're requesting area outside of the existing brewery, contiguous with the space that we're in, to have that approved for outside seating, outside dining. We've gone through the Zoning Board of Appeals and they approved I guess whatever you call it. I'm not familiar with the terminology, but they approved the variance, I guess, to allow us to, for that. The next step we understood was to come through the planning board for minor site plan approval. We've submitted the floor plan and our brief associated with that. And really, the need for this is driven by COVID-19 and also the desire for people really to congregate in an outdoor space. What we've seen, and we gained approval for the space. We've built it out already under the allowances that Governor Baker had for outdoor dining, and that was all vetted through the town and through that approval process. So what we're trying to do here is just formalize the arrangement, make it permanent.
Well, you're looking to make this a permanent
That's
Yes.
correct. Yeah.
condition, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Stephanie, do you have any comments? I know I read your staff report on it. Sure the board-
So I went back through the previous reports for this site. They came back for a minor modification, I think 2 years ago. And in my reports, I indicated that they had been approved for up to 64 seats. And in the application, it looked like they were asking to possibly increase those. We did get a response or comment from the Board of Health that they were at the limit of the capacity of the septic system. And Frank, we got an email from you today stating that you would hold steady at the already approved number of seats.
That's correct. What, as you can be aware, or as you can recognize, a lot of people want to sit outside these days. And so we would hold to the 64 seats and we would manage that. So on the plan that I submitted, that was for potentially the maximum capacity there would be 60 outside, but we never get anywhere close to 60. Most people come in a party of 4, a party of, 2. So even though there is 60 potential seats, we never see that fill up. So we would allocate those, there you go. The total capacity of 64 seats between the indoor and the outdoor. So we'll manage to that number.
Okay, so this is the designated seating area right here.
Actually, it's the green, if you
Oh,
scroll.
the green, that's right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yep, it's the green area here. There are 5 parking spaces that taken over to convert to the outdoor dining, and they're proposing adding 5 parking spaces right here to compensate for those.
Which have already been added.
Yeah,
They're already there.
They're already there, yeah, lined with yellow lines.
okay. And the requirement is one parking space per 4 seats. So that would be a requirement of 22 parking spaces in total. They have that number of parking spaces in this area. And then there are 144 parking spaces in total throughout the complex. And a lot of these businesses really are 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or 7. I believe there's a yoga studio that operates. ECAT's operation is in the building, and those may run a few extra hours, but the number of patrons are probably pretty small.
Yeah, just a comment, even with the 64 seats that we had before, the way we ran the business, we really haven't had any parking issues in the area. As Stephanie said, most of our peak hours are when the other businesses aren't there. There are plenty of spaces that aren't utilized during that time. And our patrons have learned to park, in and around the existing spots without detriment to the other users.
Okay, so Stephanie, I'm curious, just in terms of the septic capacity, because I don't think, well, obviously it's not in our jurisdiction, but in terms of enforcing it or keeping an eye on it. And while I hear what the guys are saying about, I'm just thinking in the future when COVID, if we ever get away from COVID, and you have 60 seats outside and you have full capacity in and out, that would fall on the Board of Health to
Correct.
enforce or to work. So we could, I guess in a decision we could just note that. I mean, I don't think it keeps us from issuing a site plan approval if that was the board's desire, right?
Right.
Because we don't have the power. The existing space already exists, and I don't think we want to get into writing a decision that limits. Okay, well, if you can only have 64 or total throughout. We're approving 60 outside and the existing inside. So I think the technicality of the enforcement of capacity would fall to the Board of Health. Question mark, right?
Yes.
It would, so much as there's ample parking for the full capacity.
Yeah. Oh, I'm talking septic capacity.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah. So that's right.
Yeah. And, I did ask, I talked with Greg Swan because this has come up before. The site is within the Northeastern Village. It's just that the sewer line was brought down. It stopped because you'd have to tunnel or bore underneath the MBTA right-of-way to bring the water, the sewer main over to the site. So, at some point in the future, that might be an option, but it's not necessarily a feasible option today.
No, I imagine there's a pretty large betterment
Right.
involved in that the building owner probably isn't in the mood to invest in while he has a working septic system.
Yeah,
Right.
I think the problem was the same situation applied to the YMCA, and it just was kind of a non-starter.
Right.
Some of those considerations.
So, board members, you guys have any other questions or comments?
Are there going to be any outdoor porta potties?
No.
No?
Frank, do you want to answer that question?
I said no, there are
Oh, I'm sorry.
no outdoor porta potties planned.
Any other questions from the board or anyone in the audience? Check the.
One comment I have that it's really more about this wastewater. It looks like they do it on a gallons per day calculation, but since their business is on off hours mostly, would they be able to talk to the Board of Health about that for future reference? Not that it affects.
No, because that's the town doesn't have the right to override Title V, which is sort of the building code of septic systems.
Okay.
So, Greg, do you want to have any condition related to the capacity and septic, or just leave that as is? And
Well, I'm hesitant because I don't think it's the, this is site plan review. So
yeah, no, I thought about it for a while too. That's how I felt.
we're looking at, X number of seats in and out. I would rather, again, assuming the board approves this, I think in the decision, I would like to say something that, that there appears to be a septic capacity issue that needs to be worked out or monitored, with the Board of Health. We're approving this. I think in the past, we've never, I can't think of any, site plan review typically doesn't involve septic capacity because
No,
again,
that's
septic
fine. I agree. I just wanted
has to do
to,
with the Board of Health. So we don't, it's not in our purview.
no, I just wanted to make a proper motion based on what you said. So I will make a motion to approve the minor modification to the site plan for the brewery at 50 Oliver Street.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I just actually had a question. Sorry.
Nothing
I
besides-
noticed on the site plan that it looks like the outdoor area is in the location where the parking spaces are. And so is that dimension 24 feet from the face of the building?
No, it's against the face of the building. Yeah, it touches the building. And then,
Okay.
yeah, if you just scroll down a little more, Stephanie. I don't remember the numbers off yeah, it goes out 24 feet. That's correct. And it's about 60 feet wide.
Okay. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that it didn't extend beyond the
The
parking
spaces.
area just because the roadway is
We probably should have
somewhat
shown, this is an
constricted.
actual photo.
Yeah, that's
That's
the,
currently, yeah, that's the one that's out there now, correct?
right.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
Nothing to apologize for, Deborah. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any further comments? And I see no one raising their hand online. So all those in favor, Strange eye.
Shane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
South Sarah guy.
And that is unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Safe flight back from San Francisco.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have
All
a
right.
good night.
Good night. All right. Next up is also, I guess, a minor modification. Let me try that again. Minor modification of a site plan or acceptance of a revised plan for 924 Washington Street. A site
Right.
plan revision.
This-
Stephanie, would you like to?
I'm sorry. This is for acceptance of a minor modification of the plan for 924 Washington Street. This was the contractor's bays that was approved by the board a while back. And you may recall, I think this is the one where you have another building over here, and the board asked that they, which has nothing to do with what they're asking, but that, they consult with the fire department to make sure there was plenty of room on this southern side to get out to the building that's over here. Really, the only changes that were made were in response to the Board of Health. They did not have the book and page for the deed on the plan, and they needed to show the dimensions for the leaching area. And then they had a baffle off a T that was shown in the wrong direction or off the wrong T. So they made those corrections. They asked if they needed to submit it or submit a minor modification. It seemed like it was a very, very small change. And my suggestion was they asked the board to accept the revised plan into the record. So we did have in our files the final plan that was approved and for construction.
Seems pretty straightforward. Questions, comments, anybody on the board? So should we I guess we can just do a motion for this, right? I mean, is this technically a modification of a site plan? Is that how we're handling this?
No, it's an acceptance of a minorly revised plan into the record.
Okay. We have
And
that in our bylaw.
A motion to accept the minorly revised plan into our record.
Second.
Any further discussion? No one's chiming in online. Bob is muted all of a sudden for some reason.
yeah.
Nope.
No,
I try to mute when the girls are screaming in the background.
oh, sorry.
Fan club? Yeah.
All right, although we have a second, any further discussion? Not hearing none. All those in favor, Strange eye.
Kane, aye.
Anderson, I.
Stetson, I.
Alstaric, aye.
All right. Let's see, 9:04. Meeting minutes. Why don't we do that next? Anybody have any? Oh, look at that. We have them online. I'm on the screen.
Are you reading them online right now, Greg?
Well, I already read them. I was just looking at something. The word strange popped out, so it catches my eye. Did anybody have any revisions or typos or anything they needed to? So at any point someone wants to make a motion, feel free.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from July 20th.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, Strange eye.
Kane, aye.
Anderson, I.
Stetson, I.
All right.
I'll abstain.
Okay.
All right. 2021 update subdivision rules and regulations.
Greg, you and I talked about this a little bit. The board has been talking about it for a couple of years. I think it was 2017 when the board updated its rules and regulations. And this has been on the back burner for a while. So I thought it might be, and I think you said, brought this up, that this should be the project for the board for this year.
Yes, I had pitched it to Imai, but then he gave us notice, so I guess he didn't want to do it. Well, yeah, I think for a few years, and I mean, both our bylaw, we recodified the zoning bylaw a few years ago, but now at some point, I know this, you didn't talk about, but we need to. That certainly needs some tweaking. Not so much in new bylaws, just in we always go. You don't pick up things so you're in that book project specifically, and then you realize there's contradictions and ambiguity. So I think we need to attack that. The subdivision rules and regs, yes, I don't think they ever really recovered. They were rewritten pretty bluntly, or edited a bit bluntly, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and missing pieces, and so. And I think at the same time, along with our rules and regs, I think it's time for us to maybe look at doing things a bit graphically too. Apple was why did everybody love a Mac? It was the graphic user interface, and still to this day, I get questions from building officials and developers and homeowners trying to explain the height bylaw that we wrote a few years back, for example. So I think if we could, make it a more user-friendly document. And then that ties into something that I wanted to bring up quickly on my chair's report. When we have design review as part of special permits, and because that made me think when Deb maybe 2 meetings back, Deb said something like we were reviewing someone's plan. She goes, "Oh, but we don't really get to review design," and you were kind of question mark, right? And I think if we. One of the things I just want to, when the special permits that we've had, flexible development and duplexes, those are the instances so far that come up, and there'll be some mixed use at some point. Or we had it in the Queesa Commercial District with the Korea's Plaza, 661 Washington. Is that the address? I think. And I think our job is to, on that. We had 4 architects or architectural designers on this board at one point. You know, now we have 2, but if you know, design is always subjective, something that one person may think is fantastic, the other doesn't. And I've always hesitated with us, you know, going, oh, this window should look this way, or this doorway should be that way. Because I think that legally we probably couldn't do that anyway. So we can certainly suggest and nudge and, you know, while we have a bite at the apple, see if we can tweak something. But I think it's what we've been trying to do is tie back into our bylaws, into the master plans. A lot of it's about scale, you know, how buildings, for example, in a flexible development, how they relate to each other. That's why we ask for the site plan too. We look at the siting, and you know, I guess in theory, the thought would be, you know, when we're having smaller lots, we would tend to look for maybe structures that are a little more in keeping scale of the neighborhood. Doesn't mean it has to be a small house, but there's, you know, doesn't mean it has to be a 2.5 story, you know, nosebleed box right on top of the street that's raised up. That's why the height bylaw is taken from the existing grade prior to any construction, because as we know, the grade raises up quite a bit with water tables in parts of this town. So anyways, I think it would be nice maybe if we talked about that at some point and put it in our documents so that people, like anything, we want to build. You know, we've talked about this before when we were looking at Furnace Village zoning. The smoother process, the more predictable process that we can present to applicants, the more I think we can get for the town. Whether it's, you know, whether it's mitigation or you know, or we get to you know, be able to a more successful project for everybody, the applicants, the developers, and the town in terms of the master plans and all the other plans that we've worked on. So yes, I think that's, you know, a good, you know, looking on the horizon. I know there's one subdivision coming up we'll be looking at. At some point we'll get to Sawmill, but the planning board, we've pretty much done our job on Sawmill. I mean, we've done a lot of our job. We'll have to see what they come back with. But so I think, you know how we do this. Unfortunately, during COVID, it's not the easiest thing to do, create documents. But you know, do what they teach us at Citizens Planning Collaborative. You find documents that you like in other towns and you plagiarize. So, you know, the key to zoning in Massachusetts. So, and I've collected a bunch of stuff through the years on this. So I think at some point, you know, I'll probably maybe work with Stephanie a little bit, and then we can then throw a bunch to you guys and see what you think, and then any ideas that you all have too. But I just think we need to, long story short, we need to overhaul our documents to bring them into the 21st century. So, all in one sentence.
Okay.
So, meeting minutes, chair reports. I think that's everything. Look, I got you guys out in 36 minutes, 31 minutes. Anybody have any questions or comments or on anything else? And when is our next meeting? We are meeting
It's the 17th.
August 17th. So Stephanie, just going back to Sawmill, and the reason, I think Stephanie told us last week, the reason Sawmill continues to continue, request continuance, is that they're just waiting on a recertification or a certification of the floodplain with FEMA.
Well, so if I could, Greg, I just
Sure.
want to explain that a little bit. So I think the board is well aware that when they came in with their plans, showed the floodplain in an area that's different than what was shown on, or is currently shown on the FEMA flood map. And that's because the way it's shown on the FEMA flood map, it doesn't really make sense. It kind of goes over the brook instead of expanding out from the brook. In part, the reason it's in error is because that section was not done by survey. There's a portion of the floodplain to the south and to the north that were determined by study. So they have done their own calculations and analysis and have determined the line, and they believe that the line is where they're showing it on the plan. They do plan to submit to FEMA for a letter of map revision. What, after several conversations with them and with Woodard and Curran, we've come to agreement that if they prepare the package to submit to FEMA for the LOMR for us, Woodard and Curran will have their floodplain manager review it for credibility, to determine that they're using the correct methodology and that their outcome makes sense based on the information they've put into the modeling. And that would allow the boards to move forward with the permitting process. The other is that they needed to wrap up with the Conservation Commission. They have several waivers that they are going to require because they are filling in, and this is part of the reason, knowing where the floodplain is and for the town to confirm that their analysis is comprehensive, is they're proposing to fill some areas that are located within the area currently mapped by FEMA, but of course where they believe that the floodplain doesn't exist, it exists in other areas. So they're wrapping that up. They're putting their waiver request together for the Conservation Commission, and they expect to have all that information and documentation together for submittal on the 10th of this month.
Great. So they'll probably go to Concom for a meeting or two before they come to us, do you think?
I would say so. I mean, I think that what they're going to present will be a lot. If they present it on the 10th, the Conservation Commission meeting, I believe, is on the 17th. Which would be the same night as ours. I meant to check that.
Yeah, so maybe we'll see them by the end of August, I guess.
Yeah, I think they may have some comments or tweaks. And I don't know that Woodard and Curran will be able to turn around in a week. I highly doubt that.
Oh, so will
floodplain
Woodward
analysis.
and Curran's, blessing supersede FEMA at least for the Conservation Commission approval, or will they have to eventually wait for FEMA to approve it also?
So what Woodard and Curran would be doing is giving kind of okay, we're looking at the package. We have a trained floodplain manager that knows how to read these things, and the information that's being provided is consistent with where you're proposing the flood line move to. It has a high degree of being accepted by FEMA with minor occasion.
I see. Okay.
Well, thank you for that, Stephanie. Any board members have anything they want to add? Any good jokes they've heard? No. All right. Well, I hope you're all having a nice COVID-free summer. Certainly has been humid. And I look forward to meeting in person again someday. But till then, I'll bring back a new screen background next week. So, who wants to bring us home?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? I heard one. All those in favor? Strange eye.
Shane, aye.
Anderson, I.
That's an aye.
All
South
right.
Sarah guy.
Well, thank you all. Suzanne, thank you. Stephanie, thank you. ECAT, thank you. Easton,
Good
thank
night,
you.
everybody.
Stay safe. Stay cool. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Good night.
Have a good
Good
night.
night.